unless Washington, D.C. reverses course and quickly, is simply unavoidable at this point. Joining me now from New York City, family physician and healthcare policy expert, Dr. Jonathan Vitale. Doctor, Mitch McConnell, in my opinion, has the folks in the Senate right now exactly where he wants them. He's 7 votes short of passing some sort of reshaping of Obamacare. 4 conservatives, including Mike Lee and Ted Cruz, say, of course, this thing is not constitutional enough. There are 3 Republicans who say it's too constitutional. So we see what's going to happen here. McConnell's going to go, he's like water. He's going to pick the easiest route, right? He's going to try and pick off those 3 Republicans who believe this makeover is too constitutional. So these are the weak rhinos. And then he's going to try and pick off 4 Democrats who can bring over to his side of the aisle and then cobble together something to give to the president. My hope in the end is that Donald Trump's going to look at this thing and he's going to say, forget it. This is not what we told the American people we were going to do.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Graham. The repeal and replace of Obamacare, as we're seeing every day, is becoming less and less likely to actually happen. And I'm becoming less and less optimistic. What's happening right now is it's a total mess what's going on in the Senate. The only kernel of hope is that Mitch McConnell's now talking about getting rid of this, the Senate August recess, so that they can actually start working on this. Right. But really what we need to do, as I've talked about many times, is we need to repeal Obamacare in a separate bill, and then we can work on the replacement. We can even do both in the same day. But it's just really, really important to do that. But keep in mind, Graham, if we do nothing, Obamacare is going to collapse. We're already seeing that. Right. But the thing that would be very difficult is the Republicans are going to be forced to have to negotiate with the Democrats in order to come up with a replacement once Obamacare just entirely collapses, and it's just a matter of time. But unless we actually repeal Obamacare, we're not going to be doing any good thing for the American people and the American public. No,
and when McConnell talks about fixing Obamacare, what exactly is there to fix?
Yeah.
Which part of it do we fix? What returns us to the doctor-patient relationship, which is what we need to do? What gets government out of the way? Whatever they have proposed so far is just another layer of government.
Absolutely. Really what we need to do is we need to get rid of these government regulations under Obamacare so that we can legalize the sale of cheap health insurance. Right. That's really the solution. The problem here is you cannot tinker around the margins with Obamacare. You can't put a Band-Aid on a stab wound. No. You really cannot do that. Patients suffer in the end. And then, look, Graham, we're going down the path as it is now to a universal health care system, and we're going to start seeing all the problems inherent in that, like what's going on now with Charlie Gard in the UK.
Right.
But these are things that we have to...
I think that's very poignant on your part. That what happened with Charlie Gard, in case folks aren't familiar, is this little boy who has an incurable disease. His family is at its wit's end in the United Kingdom, has appealed to the courts there, has appealed to the courts in Brussels. They have all said no. These would be the death panels, by the way. They said, no, you've got to pull the plug on Charlie. You can't remove him at your own expense and move him to a hospital in the United States that is doing experimental treatment. We have the latest from a spokesperson from the family of Charlie Gard. Roll tape.
Charlie's parents look forward to new evidence being heard before the High Court this Thursday, the 13th of July, that will result in Charlie's parents taking him to either the United States of America or to Italy for groundbreaking treatment. Mum and Dad say that if Charlie is still fighting, then they are still fighting.
Good for them. Doctor, real quick, the disease that Charlie has suffered from, don't get too far in the weeds on me here now, but MDDS, what is it?
Yeah, so that's, he has a mitochondrial disorder, mitochondrial DNA depletion syndrome. And essentially what that means is that his cells don't have the mitochondria, so they're not able to produce the energy that his organs need. It leads to severe brain damage, it leads to muscle damage, and it leads to death, essentially. But the most important point here to make, Graham, is that what's happening in the UK right now isn't about money, because the parents have already raised enough money for this kid to get treatment in the US. U.S., but it's about setting precedent. And what is the precedent going to be about the government having moral authority over your health care? And Americans need to be watching this very closely, what's happening in the UK, because when we talk about universal socialized health care in America, the left depicts it as all rainbows and butterflies and free health care, but it's not. What happens is things like this with these de facto death panels, which is essentially what's going on right now.
And let's be blunt about this, Doctor. They need the bed. They need Charlie's bed. They ration medical care in the United Kingdom.
Exactly.
And this is my point. When we zoom out and we look at the big picture, this is where we are headed.
Yeah.
I don't, at this point, in this moment in time, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't see any way out of us heading eventually toward single payer and a system that Charlie is under right now.
Yeah, it's very scary, Graham. I mean, if you look at countries that actually have legalized euthanasia, you know, countries like Belgium and the Netherlands, their rates of euthanasia go up every year, and they're not even really mercy killings. We're talking about folks with dementia, folks who are mentally disabled, and even in the U.S., we have 5 or 6 states which have legalized physician-assisted suicide, which is different than euthanasia. But in the U.K., where euthanasia is illegal, it's still legal for them to essentially pull the plug on folks, such as Charlie Gard, if they don't think that he has a meaningful chance of recovery. So this choice is no longer being left up to the parents or the patient, but it's being left up to the government.
Right.
And it's very scary. And I don't see that any way that we're not going towards that in America with the way that it's going in the Senate right now.
And that's the point. This argument is not about quality of life and whether the parents are doing the right thing here. It's not about an advance directive. Yeah. It's about the parents being having liberty, and Charlie having liberty. They have no liberty under this system, and we still have a modicum of liberty in this country, and that's why they want to come here.
That's right. It's written into our Declaration of Independence that we have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's within the very fabric of our country. You know, people in this country, patients still have a choice about whether or not they want to go with mainstream treatment, alternative treatment, or even no treatment at all. Right. As long as they're in sound mind, the doctors have to support their decision, not the government.
Unless Congress kills Obamacare, and I mean kills Obamacare, all of it, unless we do something and reform Medicare and Medicaid, which are going to become insolvent one day and probably very soon, I think one day we are all going to be Charlie Gard in the end. I hate to say it, but I think it's true. Dr. Vitale, thank you.